I would like to invite Surveyor Wong Bei to come forward to chair the panel discussion. Surveyor Wong, please.
Thank you, Cecilia. It's quite very inspiring and eye-opening. Very informative and a lot of green works in the presentation. I learned a lot. Actually, let me introduce myself first. I'm a surveyor. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a financial people. I am coming from the surveying sector. I am a building surveyor, and as you know, many people in the industry recognize the building surveyors are building doctors. So without a doctorate degree, I claim myself a building doctor because I take care of the buildings, take care of the health and safety inside the buildings, and take care of the performance and sustainability issues about buildings. I have been a maintenance surveyor before, and I have been in the maintenance and building care business for over 40 years. So I understand how buildings perform. I know how good and how bad our buildings in Hong Kong are performing. And today, I would like to share with you some of my insights about the buildings, how our buildings will look like in the coming decades, in order to get ourselves carbon neutrality by 2050 is a really big challenge. Let me introduce to you that actually in Hong Kong we have over 50,000 buildings in Hong Kong. Can you guess how many green buildings we have out of these 50,000 buildings? Anybody? Actually, the Hong Kong GBC announced that they have 7,000 new buildings registered for accreditation to become green, and around 3,000 new buildings are certified. The BEAM plus new built, and around 290 are certified as under the BEAM plus existing buildings. So in terms of number of green buildings in our building stock, I must say that we have a very long way to go in order to get all our building stock become green. And in my language as a surveyor, we normally call buildings without proper maintenance or lacking proper maintenance, we call them gray buildings. Actually, we have a lot of gray buildings in Hong Kong, and we must find a way to change these gray buildings to become green buildings so that they are energy efficient, they are water efficient, they're everything efficient, they will produce no carbon dioxide, etc. I would like to raise a question with Vincent first. Vincent, are you here?
Yes, Bei.
You raised a very good thinking points for us in your last few slides. What is an office really for? I have no answer. An office is for people doing business, doing their work. And what are the spaces we need in a home? Again, the average size of our home is quite small in terms of the universal standard. And I trust green building will have a role to play both in office buildings and also in residential buildings. I just read a report recently released from a real estate consultant, which presented some interesting thoughts on your questions. Very interesting thoughts. And let me share with you. It was a survey report on employees' experience and engagement in their office. Amazingly, it was most amazing to note that 3 levels of employees working in office, the individual contributors, the middle managers, and senior managers, they all experience a boost in their engagement and experience if they are in the office for 3 days or more per week staying in the office. So if I am the boss, I will find ways to engage my employees by letting them to have their office, to stay in the office 3 days per week, so that their engagement will be boosted up. So people are equally concerned about the office environment, also concerned about the indoor environment, their health and well-being, both at office and also at home. So how can we balance their concerns? Vincent, what's your view?
Yeah, indeed, it's a big question, these days, whether we should encourage our employee to get back to office as soon or as much as possible. I think that I think we have to consider 2 things. That we know that office is there to engage everyone together to develop ideas. That's very important. So if we could have a technology that can solve this, I mean, it actually fulfill part of this requirements. The other things that I think people like to get together because we are social animals, right? We need to work together. This is very important. So that's why I'm here today, that we actually work with a different partner, do 2 very important things. First is how effective, I mean, the technology right now can help people to engage better together to develop more meaningful kind of solutions, either through online, in person, or other different things. This is very important. The other thing I think is equally important, that I mean, when we stay in office, we know that the environment is not only provide the minimum kind of health provisions. More importantly, that if you want to improve the efficiency of the people, you need to make the people happier, and more importantly, that they feel more comfortable on that. So I mean that kind of we call user kind of autonomy is so important. So I think to answer your question, that yes, we like where we could to use technology to help to engage more kind of collaboration work, and where we could, if people really enjoy more staying around together in office, that we try where we could provide a very comfortable, pleasant, I would say human-centric kind of design, so that I mean the kind of productivity and also their happiness actually can be enhanced. So that's actually a kind of strategy right now we're working on. Of course, that we still need to experiment, and because not other than Hong Kong, I found out that most of people work in my company actually not staying in office at the moment. So I think we still need to test whatever solutions that we found applicable or appropriate in different places of work. So I think we don't have a kind of silver bullets at the moment, but what we like to see is to explore, to test, and more importantly, when everything back to normal, that we can create a better normal than before. Right.
So even you have extra space in the office now, you can turn it around and make people happier, make them more comfortable, make them stay longer in the office. Yeah, very good suggestion. How about the other speakers? What are your views? Johnny, you have a lot of green.
Hi. Yeah, hi, Johnny here. Hi, Wang Bei. Um, my view is as a developer, of course, we have so many offices, buildings. We want to have 100% occupancy. That's the ideal scenario. At a reasonable rent. So in order to keep our tenants happy, of course, we have to make sure that just what we mentioned before, they like coming into work, and then the workplace is safe to do so, and that's why we put in so many health and safety features and wellness features into the buildings. But of course, going forward, I do not rule out the possibilities that there may be a percentage of people who can actually work from home or work remotely from home, which has proven to be successful during the period of COVID. I don't think productivity was affected too much by people working remotely from home. But I think for some of the companies, one of their concerns may be how do you monitor your employees' productivity, when they are not actually in the office. At the same time, working in the office as a team, will promote teamwork and then promote thinking. And I think there is also a need, even though that some people may be working from home, but still, I think meeting face to face is also key, to the success of the company. So that's my view.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Rocky, you have any points to further?
Perhaps a very quick answer to this. Taking myself as an example, I could not bear the fact that I had to work from home too much. During the entire year of 2020, I had only worked from home for no more than 3 weeks. The reason being, I have 2 kids at home, and then I also have my wife at home. So we having so many people at home would affect your effectiveness or efficiency in delivering your work. So this is one thing. For those people who have the privilege of having a larger flat, perhaps that could be efficient for them. A second thing is that it is really what Vincent and Johnny were saying. Finance, for instance, is a business that requires interaction, and interaction oftentimes works more efficiently when there's a physical contact. I'm sure that we all wished this webinar would have been able to be turned into a physical format. However, given COVID situation, this is what we are settling for. But in the case that we can have some physical face-to-face time, I'm sure people in the financial services industry will applaud for it. And so I feel that it is too early for us to say that everybody will be enjoying the work from home arrangement entirely and only. But then, I think, having a combination of both would, benefit both workers and employers.
So thank you very much for your advice. I think no matter what we do, we want to keep offices green. We want to keep homes green. Apart from green, keep everybody happy, keep them safe, keep them comfortable, and keep them healthy through a lot of technologies. We need green technologies. We need green finance to support these technologies. So everybody have a role to play in the new coming few decades. Now, let me shift to another questions about existing building. Hong Kong actually have more than 50,000 existing buildings, and 85% are over 10 years old now. But many of them are poorly maintained. Either they have a leaking roof or a leaking window, or they have a lot of falling tiles on the external wall, or energy inefficiency in their buildings. My estimate is that about 90% of these buildings are gray buildings, suffering certain part of inefficiency in the building performance. The most common part is they consume a lot of energy. They require a lot of caring, those type of things. Now, let me ask Dr. Jen first. Can we convert all these gray buildings into green buildings in technology terms?
Well, indeed, existing building is a tricky one that we know that. But there are many reasons. First of all, of course, that if you want to convert, and we call retire in a technical term, retire building into a completely new or even better than the current kind of buildings, because we are aiming at zero carbon. Something that I won't say is impossible, but it's actually very, very challenging. As you can imagine, that the facade performance are not as promising, and let alone it's being deteriorating, and also the equipment and many other systems are actually retiring. So that's why that in particular, I mean, recent year we're trying to move, bit by bit, rather than looking for very kind of comprehensive retrofit of entire building, converting from 19th century kind of building into 21st century building. That's actually not something practical. So right now that I mean the industry actually is trying to advocate a process what we call retrofit commissioning. So during the process that we can identify where the areas that are the kind of weakest point that we can find kind of a quick fix. For example, I mean that the lighting fixture right now are very, very efficient and affordable. So we can do a little bit of change on the lighting. Actually, it can save 20% of the overall office kind of energies. Likewise on some energy efficient appliances. I mean now they are becoming more and more popular. And these are the areas I think even without kind of that much of kind of green finance, it's can thrive by itself. But of course, that we also need support, from different parties, including the developer, the building owners, and also financial themselves, to encourage other more kind of deep, we call deep decarbonization works, including have more kind of retrofit work on AC system, because that's quite expensive on that. And also, now that even with the kind of FIT, inter kind of incentive, the kind of uptakes of renewable are not that promising. So these are the areas I think probably we need kind of support from other sectors to help us to make things quicker. But other than that, I think technology is there as a matter of how we can engage everybody to walk in the same directions in faster pace. This is something I think we should explore more on that.
Let me turn to Johnny. Johnny, you have done a lot of good things in Henderson. You produce a lot of green buildings and maintain this them sustainable. It is the most difficult part of the job.
Yes, I think if we were to look at the new buildings, I think that's the easy part, because all the new buildings that are under construction, we always aim for platinum or gold, green building certification. In fact, one of the new development that we have, has got the first this is the first residential building that we have got platinum pre-certification for under WELL version 2. So I think this is, all the project managers, who work on different projects on new buildings are aware that, green is the word that, they have to have in their mind. For the existing building, as I mentioned, we try to be responsible for our carbon emission. So we just carry out a carbon and energy audit for 33 of our investment property buildings, which is almost like 95% of the investment properties that we have at Henderson Land. And the conclusion is very simple. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of the energy consumption actually come from the chiller consumption. If the chiller plant is not efficient, then it's going to be a lot of inefficient carbon emissions coming out from these old buildings. So our aim is to look at the efficiency of all these existing buildings that we have in the portfolio, and then try to optimize our air conditioning or replace some of them if needed. In terms of energy consumption. If we have actually done an exercise to summarize all the energy consumption per building, and we can see that almost like 60 to 80% or even 90% of the consumption is coming from the chiller plant. So I think replacing, lifts, escalators, or replacing the lighting, in the shopping mall, in the buildings are not going to help too much. So I think the chiller plant is the one that we would try to focus on. So I think going forward, we aim to automate everything, to have everything in one dashboard so that we can see the efficiency of all our building at one glance. So, any inefficiency will be spotted ASAP, and then we can act on it, to save, and to save energy as much as we can. I think that's the plan. Thank
you advocate this building maintenance system, automatic building maintenance system or monitoring system in every building. I think it's very good.
That's the long-term aim, long-term target.
Actually, I learned a lot from my engineer friends. They have a term called retro commissioning. They just check every system inside the buildings, how efficient they are. If they are not efficient, tune it again, make them efficient. And if they're out of date, just shut it off. And they use another term called retrofitting. Retrofit those inefficient systems. And that will solve a lot of problems. In particular, you have inefficient chillers, air conditionings, escalators, lighting system, etc. I think that is technology-wise, we have a lot. I think we are advanced enough to make sure all these can be implemented. But however, no matter how good our technologies are, we still need money. How can we really solve that? In particular, those buildings, the owners are very old. The owners, they have the heart, but they don't have the money. So can Rocky give us shed some light to these very keen property owners or small and SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, that if they want to do something, can green bonds, green finance, or whatever new ways of financing all these issues can be arranged? Rocky, what's your view?
Well, having financial creativity is an art that stimulates Hong Kong's financial services sector. So anything is possible, but whether it is practical is another thing. So in my humble opinion, I feel that it would be quite difficult for these SMEs to raise funds via like issuing green bonds, etc. In my humble opinion, we have seen that the government has been very supportive of renewing or renovating older buildings. That's one tranche of thinking that we can consider. There have been other cases whereby the government has been phasing out trucks and buses and whatnot, and other forms of vehicles with some subsidy schemes. I feel that perhaps instead of asking these individuals and smaller enterprises to raise bonds.
Thank you very much for your advice. I think everybody have a role to play. Financial creativity is an art. Very good statement. Valuation is an art. We always treat new creativity. We always treat innovation, all kind of things, and art. Without those creativity, we cannot move any further. Now, I suddenly think of, in our old buildings, I have listened to your slideshows, your presentations. A lot of AI, a lot of robots, a lot of renewable energy, a lot of big data, a lot of IoT, Internet of Things, a lot of smart technology, many smart technology. Can all these be implemented in existing buildings? Or they can only be installed in new buildings at the design stage? Vincent, what's your view?
I think digital transformation is something that can happen anywhere, because I mean that the ICT backbone actually don't take that much of space, so we don't have issues like chiller or others which will have this kind of constraint. In fact, I mean that these days the kind of 6G or even 5G, 6G, I mean that will move even faster and faster on what we call plug and play kind of mode. I think it's not that difficult, to implement. But more important is we can get a lot of data, but how these data can be used and create insight, I think that's something matter more. Because I think at the end, without kind of proper way of doing analytics, I mean, all these data are useless. So I think worldwide, I think we are developing kind of protocol and kind of methodologies, use AI or other methods actually to help us to manage our facility better. I mean, more importantly, you've heard, I mean, the preventive maintenance and so on and so on are now in place more and more frequently in buildings. So I think the technology is there, and then it's actually at the right moment. And I think with a little bit support from financial sector and also the developer, we can move quicker and faster, and hopefully before 2050 that we can have every building be smart and also efficient. If not,
Wise, innovation and new technologies, they are not just an art, they are science, and then we already got these new ways of doing technologies. We are all conversant with all these new technologies. They are just apart from the technology. What we need is money and also support from various sectors, in particular the government. Maybe we need some government support to break through those hurdles. Anyway, coming back, Hong Kong Green Building Council is very worried about the lack of participation in existing buildings certification. Are there any ways that we can engage the building owners more, engage the big developers more, engage the smaller intermediate size developers more, so that they can give us a hand? Any views about that? You are Hong Kong Green Building Council director. Can you shed light on this big question?
I think you can direct that to Johnny. I mean, as a building owner on one of the leading kind of developer, and then maybe he can shed more lights on this and perhaps provide kind of direction for us.
Yeah. I think for existing buildings, sometimes things are out of our control. Because when the building are sold, they may be managed. They may not be, managed by our company after a few years' time. They have their own management team. So even though that we want to do more, we may have to, spend more time talking to the existing tenants, or try to convince them that there are benefits in, renovating the buildings or upgrading the buildings. Because these are the monies that they are spending. Obviously, they would look at cost and benefit and whether it is worthwhile to spend the money. If the money is not coming from them, of course, it's easy to do so. But if the money is actually coming from the tenants, they have to do some calculations to see what the benefits are in order to, upgrade the buildings. That's my personal view.
Okay, thank you very much. Let us change to another subject. To combat climate change, the government of Hong Kong SAR announced in the 2020 policy address that Hong Kong will strive to achieve carbon neutrality before 2050. So we have how many years? We have 28 years ahead of us. How confident you are in this carbon neutrality issue? Anybody can share their views? I heard John is in some of your slides. You have also mentioned this.
Yes. Again, I think we have a long way to go. 2050. But again, it's not that much time that we have, between now and then. Although you think 2050 is quite a long way away, but without doing any planning, it's not going to happen. So at the end of my presentation, I did mention that in order to have this in our ecosystem, to achieve carbon neutral by 2050, I cannot just do it alone. My company cannot do it alone. We have to work with other developers. We have to work with the government. We have to work with, different stakeholders and parties, in the community to try to achieve this. For example, for electric vehicle, ideally, I think the government wants to phase out all the petrol cars, to have all electric cars by mid 2030s. But how likely are we going to have 100%, electric charger in all car parks by then? I think we have to start planning now if we were to do it. So that's also the question that I have. Are we able to achieve this? I wanted to personally, I test drove, a Tesla, the Model 3, which I think is quite powerful. And I was thinking of buying one. But again, when I checked with my management building, they have planned to install electric, charger in the building, but they said they're talking to the government. So I think we are, going back and forth, trying to, apply for charges in our building. So again, we're not sure what the plan is yet. But of course, my personal view is try to get it done ASAP, and then I would go out and get one and replace my petrol car. So it's a chicken and egg thing, Without a charger, I'm not going to buy the car.
Very optimistic about it. No big deal in the coming few decades. Okay, good. Green building in the coming decades will offer great business opportunities to all sectors. How, as an investor, I got some money. What should I do? For example, I got $5 million as a small investor. What should I do in order to invest in this green building business?
So that's the question for Rockies, isn't it?
Where is Rocky?
Here, I feel so sorry that my internet or the machine is not behaving the way it should. However, I do feel that well, the 5 million is not a small amount because I don't have it. So I've never thought of how to spend $5 million. And that said, I do feel that in Hong Kong there are a lot of investment options available for investors. There are investment funds managed by professionals who will be investing in a portfolio of vehicles, be it green bonds or directly in companies and projects that are green related. So it is available. At the same time, like I mentioned earlier, that there are indices and other ETFs available not only in Hong Kong but globally. So these are investment options that potential investors can contemplate. Last but not the least, I feel that the Hong Kong SAR government has been doing so much that it has in fact launched a 30-year green bond. This is to answer the requests from investors who are actually looking for longer duration of green bonds. So in one of my slides, it highlighted that the average duration of green bonds would average say 5 to 10 years. But the Hong Kong SAR government launched this 30-year green bond just for the fact that some investors, especially say insurance companies, they have to hedge long-term risk. So this is something that many people can consider.
Another question is about, hello sir, if you are looking for some company to implement solution in the home, please consider looking at your sustainable smart solutions interested group. Okay, that is a sharing. All right, no question for the speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Surveyor Wong and our panel speakers. The discussion was very dynamic with lots of food for thought. In closing, I would like to invite each speaker to sum up their insights in one sentence. Shall we start with Dr. Chang, please?
Thanks, Cecilia. I think I'm so happy today to listen to so many kind of wise wisdom that generate out of this discussion. I think this is the moment where everybody, the governments, financial sector, professional are aligned, and we talk in the same language actually. I think more importantly that we to a certain extent actually walk in the same direction. So I think we need, probably in the next months or years to create more tangible outcome out of this kind of discussion. And that's something that I think everybody is looking for. I think with the help of the industry, with the help of government, I think these are something that I am actually looking forward. And to answer basic questions, whether I see this carbon zero or carbon neutrality kind of reality, I think I'm cautious optimistic on this because we are all aligned. And in fact, in a company that we have one slogan on this SD development is, sustainability is everything for everyone. And this is something that we have to bear in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Tu, can you state the essence in one sentence about financing green buildings?
Okay. I don't think it's a matter of when or whether we should focus on green building or sustainable development. The answers are very simple. It's just they are just yes and now. But it's a matter of how. So to this end, I think Hong Kong should focus very much on optimizing our regulatory regime, enhancing investor awareness, as well as perhaps uplifting relevant capabilities of our workforce. So, with that in mind, I think that would be a very we will create a very conducive empowerment.
Thank you. And Mr. Yu, what is your key advice on sustainability of real estate?
Yes, in one sentence, I think I would just tell everyone to be sustainable and be responsible. And if you want to, follow our strategy, it's very simple. As I said, is give green innovation, value for people and endeavor for the community. That's right. What we are aiming for.
Thank you. So finally, as illustrated in today's talks, our panel aims to develop meaningful and human-centric solutions. And the panel aims to be your impact partners to co-create our green future.